Yeah.
Because there's nobody that people that don't
So, all right. I'm expecting this to be incredibly insightful discussion because I know you all have done some wonderful notes this week. I don't know what's going on. Like, what are we doing? What class are we in? What?
I know class.
I know what class we're in. I just didn't prepare. Can I have my book back from somebody? Thank you, Ben.
I'm here all the time.
Are you gonna be able to talk a little bit about that? Yes. All right, that's good enough. Without without BS. That's great. Without the BS. Okay. Who had the first section? Team one. With you guys over here. Please let's begin, and then we will go around. We'll just do the first question, and then we'll go down to the philosopher portrait and the debate question in turn. So please start us off. What is our first section? How do we open up chapter 11?
Well, there was a man whose name I cannot remember.
Okay, name of the man that you cannot remember. That's a great way to start. He did a suicide study. Okay, everyone needs to write down who did Emil Durkheim. Who did that as their philosopher portrait? Okay, did you know a little bit about Mr. Durkheim?
He is a French sociologist.
Okay, so we all need to write down a little bit about Durkheim. He's a sociologist, and what exactly did he do and or is known for in the realm of sociology? First of all, what's sociology?
The study of social relations.
Okay, so it's society as a whole, and then relations within the people in society. So that's an important thing to know. It's a branch of the human sciences. Keep going.
Emil Durkheim?
Durkheim. Emil Durkheim.
Not Smile. Emil.
Emil.
And then what I also can remember is
Yes.
that he was considered the father of modern sociology.
Good.
That's all I was able to extract this time.
From the caption underneath his name, I believe, correct. Page 194. Very good. Can you tell me a little bit about the suicide study if you remember it all?
He did a study, and instead of looking at why people had killed themselves, he looked at like facts, like more of demographics about them. So like where they lived, their age, their gender, that
Good.
kind of thing. And what he found was that people who lived in, or who made like a move from like rural to urban cities, and they faced more suicide rates. So he found what the significance is that he found like you can learn more from like facts and like quantitative data.
Good.
More like along with qualitative data.
Okay, so your word in there is that he was all about what?
Quantitative.
Quantitative research. So his data was information like age, gender, marital status, religion, number of children, address, day of the week, and season. Now, those are things that define who we are, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Would you consider those to be personal information, personal data?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. What might be missing out of a description of you, or a portrait, I should say, not a description, but a portrait of you from that list? Age, gender, marital status, religion, number of children, address, day of the week, and season that they were killed. Race, what else?
By portrait, you just mean...
Racist, Teresa. Name, okay, your name, that might be an interesting. If people have a terrible name, they might...
But your emotional.
No one likes the name Bob, that's why they kill themselves. Huh?
By portrait, do you just mean like external...
That's a good question. So what I mean by portrait, when I think of the word
Features.
You can look at
facial
their.
features.
You could look at their emotional
Yeah.
status, like whether they're happy there or like whether they have a bad
Oh,
relationship.
okay,
with their
wait a
family.
second then.
Or not actually how they
So
are,
in
but
your
how they
portrait,
appear.
like if you're taking a picture of yourself, can you maybe get a little bit of emotional content in there? Okay. Now, did it have you doing any of that in this quantitative research? Things like, how you felt?
No,
No.
because that's qualitative.
That would be qualitative. Very good, Teresa. So that would be no. I'm not being insincere. That was good.
What if like you're taking a poll like rate from like 1 to 10? How high are you?
Yeah, you could do that, but would that be qualitative or quantitative?
That's qualitative.
Yeah, qualitative.
But it's a
How
number.
happy?
But
From
it's-
one
But you're
That'll
putting
be
a
from 1
number
to
on
10.
it.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
putting a number.
Oh, well, the number is quantitative.
Statistics.
Assistant Captain.
So we have a little bit of crossover, don't we?
Yeah.
Please report to the flagpole. Victoria, please report to the flagpole.
It's still not different people would put different, would scale it differently.
So it's different than having a conversation with someone. I think what I'm trying to say with the portrait question is that qualitative data in difference distinctly from quantitative data does not necessarily give you a whole picture. I should maybe say the word definition. What defines you? Do these things define you? Not in the same way that talking to you would do. It almost reminds me of a teacher in the first day of the year giving you a little survey. What do you like? What's your favorite subject? Those things, those might be good like beginning things, but if I were to end the school year not knowing anything else about you than your favorite subject and what your favorite movie is, would I know you?
No.
If I never asked you anything about what you did over the weekend, what are your fears, what are your doubts, what happened to you just yesterday, did something terrible recently,
Are you asking
tragedies, huh?
Are you asking if these things define you? Or
Yeah, and I'm asking you, do those things define you in general, and could I know stuff about you based on questioning you as opposed to this general survey of quantitative data? I'm not trying to like set you up and saying, no, quantitative data sucks. I don't want to say that. I'm just letting you know what Durkheim is addressing suicide with. He's addressing it with what? Quantitative data, which means what is his goal?
To find a pattern.
To find a pattern. Okay, that's a good. To find a pattern to do what?
To find, to like.
Teresa should be in this class. She knows everything.
It's so interesting.
What would be the goal of trying to find a pattern
You
in
try to avoid
suicide?
it or try to prevent it.
Okay, it goes back to my definition of human sciences, that we're trying to prevent or correct behavior. Notice that this is a very different way of describing suicide than how we normally would describe it. If your friend told you that, hey, I'm feeling really down, I want to kill myself. You're like, why are you laughing, Eric? She was like, really? No.
Dare you.
Dare you. No. Would you say, well, let me give you a survey to see whether or not your age and gender, see if it all fits, and you go, oh, see.
They have surveys, don't they? Though?
According to this, you're at a higher statistical probability of committing suicide. Yes.
But don't they actually have surveys?
Is it
Yeah. So what would be the purpose of that as opposed to talking one-on-one with them?
To maybe find a hereditary risk.
Hereditary risk? Okay, that might be one reason. That's nature nurture
Can you
stuff.
prove
Right?
that in a
Do you have a
survey?
predisposition to want to kill yourself? Based on depression, maybe? Depression genetic?
Wait,
That might be a
what's the
knowledge
point
issue.
of surveying people instead of talking to them?
Yeah, what's the point?
You can do it to a lot of people and just very generically and
There you
just give
go.
exactly the questions you want to be answered over a huge span.
So maybe the goal is not so much prevention of one thing, but the idea of scope,
Yeah.
right? If a person came up to me and wanted to commit suicide, I'm going to talk to them qualitatively, I would think. I can maybe give them some surveys and things to try and help them out as part of the whole process, but ultimately I want to know why, right? As opposed to quantitative, which I'm doing it for a bigger scope, I'm trying to prevent it from a societal level. If 80%, if we can reduce suicide 80% down because of one policy change or something to kind of help people out, would we do it? Depends on what that is, right? just mind control. No. Put a little chip in.
No,
there.
you change the school, you wouldn't take it away.
And change the school. I'm sorry, what were we at? Oh, school makes people commit suicide? Yeah, no school. Woo! That fixes everything. Good, so that's Durkheim in a nutshell. Hello, I'm Durkheim in a big
Unless
nutshell.
you changed it to just shoving knowledge in your brain.
There you go. Shoving knowledge in our brain. Teresa.
That would also be
Doctor Who.
Now, beyond that, page 195 also gives us our next philosopher portrait. Does anyone have Max Weber? We'll just go right there with that. Does anyone? Yes, go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so Max Weber was a German sociologist
Yes.
and political economist. And his father actually got him into sociology as a child because he owned a saloon. And
Little tidbit of information.
He likes manga?
so he wanted to show that economics can play a role in social life.
Good. And he was a socialist?
Yeah.
He was a socialist, so he's like a Marxist?
Uh-huh. He's compared with
It's different.
No, he wasn't. He caught you in a trap.
He
He's
said
a
he was
socialist?
compared to Marx. Karl Marx.
Are you sure?
Well,
His most famous work is called The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism.
Who said
It said he's a little bit different though from Karl Marx.
Right, he is.
In that- oh, he didn't want to emotionally. No, I'm sorry. So he said that religion did play a role in the creation of capitalism.
Okay.
That was his difference between Karl Marx.
Okay. His father was a Calvinist Protestant. So is he. Rugged individualism, hard work, austerity, and worldly success. That's all Max Weber, right? He's a sociologist. Do we know the difference between sociology and socialism? Okay, making sure we know that. So he's actually a capitalist. He might have a similar like world paradigm that he creates as Marx, but they're not the same. Yeah, so make sure you know that.
So,
What's his main thing, Eric?
Main thing.
Yeah, what's the thing that you kind of did? You kind of have a couple of facts and kind of be more specific here. Got something? Help us out.
he was a kind of like qualitative person.
Qualitative.
Yes,
Okay.
qualitative.
Qualitative. Good.
Qualitative. It says here, sorry, mythological anti-positivism,
Okay.
which was understanding individuals.
Understanding individuals. Okay. Do you know what the anti-positivist is? No, it's all right. Don't worry about anti-positivism. That's going to be big words. We don't need that. Capitalist. Weber. I'm going to write Weber is capitalist. What does it mean to be a capitalist?
It's like a free range form of economy.
Free, laissez-faire, right?
Yeah.
So you have economies that are built around what?
Letting it be.
Letting it
The
be.
people more.
The people. You're starting to sound like a socialist. You gotta be careful there. We got
Well, like
lists.
the government doesn't.
Business. But more than before business comes.
God.
Okay, well, you got Protestants, so there's a connection there between Christianity and capitalism, right? Rugged Protestant work ethic, which means individualism, means rugged self-reliance, austerity, small government. So along with that comes, when I talk as a sociologist, I'm not going to talk about socialist systems where we all are like trying to fix things from top down. Instead, what I want to do is talk to individuals and help Benjamin pick himself up by his bootstraps. Because his problem, because he's such a lazy slacker, I can see it in his polo shirt and his perfect articulate quality, is that it's his fault if something bad goes wrong, right? So qualitative research would then say, what is the problem with his inner, spirit, work ethic, something? Can I build him up in order to prevent bad stuff? So here we have two different perspectives, right? Durkheim, quantitative. Max Weber, qualitative. Make sense? So those are our two paradigms that we are looking at. It's one of our tasks for the week, ideas for the week. Yes, Kat?
I was just talking about like when you're like facing someone who's like having difficulty, like for example, like suicide, like
Mhm.
can you decide whether if they're able to like pick themselves up, or whether if like
Oh, that's
being
good.
outside.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's an important knowledge issue regarding suicide.
Like, are we babying them too much?
If I were coming from Weber, what might my answer be if I were to say to someone who is contemplating suicide, what would be some approaches or responses? One of them might be that you got some sort of wrong thinking.
Because you don't want them to be so dependent on others. So, like,
Right. So, what?
I don't know.
Finish your sentence, Kat.
What?
So dependent on others. What does that mean, dependent on others? How are you dependent on others if you're suicidal?
No, like when you're like depressed and stuff, like,
Mhm.
well, for example, like a person always like has to like talk to someone, but there comes a point where they can really just find the strength within themselves to pick themselves up. But how can you like know when to like back off or when to?
Oh, I see.
Build up their inner strength.
That's a perfect Max Weber qualitative question. What is the right balance between reliance on others, which you would want, and Max Weber wouldn't say that you're completely isolated and alone, right? You would talk to one another, you'd help each other out, maybe mentor would take you to church, something like that, right? And get you involved with things. But you're right, at some point you're going to have to take ownership of yourself. So as opposed to Durkheim, which could say things like, actually, it might be easier. I mean, I know obviously Durkheim is going to, if a friend came up to him, I would hope that he'd do some sort of qualitative discussion with him. It's not like he's completely like, here's a survey, you know. He wouldn't necessarily say that, but it might be easier to fix the situation from the top down. So if you can maybe identify information at a grand scale, you might actually be able to help that individual. Well, hey, did you recently come from a rural setting into the city? Do you feel kind of cramped? You know why? Because about 80% of suicides happen because of that very reason. So you might actually have more insight.
I said bring the data.
Bring the data into your qualitative research, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. That's a good question. That would be something that suicide prevention hotlines and people would have to study, right? About when is the right time. Anyone do any volunteer work or know anything about suicide prevention? Just a question. No. Did you have something to add to Kyle?
So, like, you take quantitative information and interpret it qualitatively, kind of?
Yeah, can you do that?
Yeah.
Did what I say kind of make sense? Yeah, so Durkheim and Weber, although they represent competing scopes, they're often used in some ways, not interchangeably, but in a synthesis in many ways. Because we are, as we interact with data and other people, that's what the human sciences is all about, right? It's about taking science and applying it to all the complex mess and irrationalities that is the human brain and behavior, right? So to try and figure those things out is important. Something else I was going to say. Oh, I had a class in college called Christians and Ethics. And in that class, I had a student. He was a very strong Christian, but he had also wanted to, he was defending the idea of right to die, I guess. And even amongst young youth, not like the normal Kevorkian kind of like I have cancer and I want to die peacefully. It was like young people too. He wanted them to have some sort of autonomy, that they could see people in a situation where they're so desperately hopeless that the Christian thing would be to tell them it's okay to kill yourself. And of course, in a room of Christians, that would not go over too well. We would always kind of assume that there was some sort of problem in the Christian. So that's not, you don't do that. You're happy. You're a Christian, right? So you're happy all that, that kind of nonsense. So everyone got really mad at him. So that was an interesting argument, and it was a personal thing because on campus we had somebody commit suicide in the dorms. So that was a terrible thing. So it was a personal issue for him as well. So it was an interesting thought. Teresa.
Isn't that weird though with our like a rule in our country that like if you attempt suicide you get fined if you don't die, but like if you die then they can't fine you? Yeah. Yeah, it's silly. Well, it's because it costs money to keep you alive and stuff.
It's because they put you in they put you in a home
Yeah.
where if you're harm to yourself or to others.
Right, it causes a strain on society. That's an interesting point. What are some curbs that we can, from a quantitative perspective, fines I think is a quantitative thing. You do something, we fine you for it so that we keep you from doing it. That's one of the preventative approaches that is related to Durkheim type research.
Wait, just to keep you alive, or?
Well, just to know that you might because not.
They need you for the tax.
You know what's interesting about suicide?
So you pay an extra fine?
No, the fine for attempted suicide, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I was saying that that's probably out of a result of quantitative research. That if you curb it with a fine, meaning you prevent people from killing themselves or attempting suicide, because the result of it might cause you to be paying money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not in the problem that you're seeing. I can
Yeah.
tell what you're seeing. You're saying most people aren't trying. Most people when they attempt suicide are actually
trying to die.
Actually, no. So that's the whole illusion of suicide. I don't want to spoil the whole thing if you want to do research, but a lot of the quantitative data shows that people more than likely are in a moment of depression, but doesn't necessarily mean that they want to kill themselves. At least not in the perspective of time. Does that make sense? So in a moment of depression, that doesn't necessarily mean that person actually wants to die. You know, we
They
think that
feel like they
because
would die.
we're pulling away free will out of people, but that's part of the data. So very simple. Did you want to add to that, or
No, I just have a question.
go ahead?
Like, well, if someone is in depression, wouldn't they not care if they have to pay a fine if they?
That could in general be, but
Because you're saying
it's more it's like consequence. You know, you're familiar with how consequence changes behaviors.
Yeah.
So even with someone who's depressed, and again, it goes back to what I just said with quantitative research showing suicide, people who actually attempt suicide aren't necessarily trying to commit suicide. They're trying to attempt suicide. There's a cry for help. We call it the cry for help, sort of a cliche. But it actually is that, for instance, here's a quantitative example. In Switzerland, they used to have their guns in their houses. It used to be a strong gun culture, but if you are familiar with recent gun policy, they've taken those rifles that are given to all the people out of the houses, and they've actually reduced 80% suicide rates for the age group that they're targeting, which was the people who are enlisted, who become part of the conscripted army, huh?
Like the guys believe about like the right to die.
Yeah, but what ends up happening is you notice that if you want to commit suicide, it becomes a much more difficult process when you don't have a gun that can do it instantly. So people aren't hanging themselves, they're not cutting themselves, not doing those other things. So they actually don't have the ability to fully commit suicide as easily, which suggests that committing suicide, that one moment of free will that you believe you're exhibiting, might actually be going against your future self.
Where's the gun?
Right, but you see what the dilemma is with quantitative research, because here I've taken the choice away from you. Is that very capitalist?
No.
So there's where the differences lie, Durkheim versus Weber. Now I've said, sorry, your free will is going to be reined in with consequence or with some other type of policy that's actually going to reduce and help society. Utilitarian kind of stuff, right? No, what do you think?
Because like when people look at suicide, I feel like it's like you said, like in that moment.
Yeah.
Like you're just
Exactly what I was saying. It's a momentary thing. But this goes into all sorts of fun ethical crossovers. One particular theory, it goes into sort of it's a type of, what is opposite of utilitarian? I totally blanked out. What's the Kantian? Huh? Ontological. Deontological, sorry. It's a type of deontological argument in which your moral duty is not just to yourself, but to your future self as well. So like things like tattoos, for instance. It's my body, I can do what I want with it. Well, wait a second. Are you the same person now as you are going to be 20 years from now?
No.
So are you hurting?
But
Are
do
you
they have-
hurting the you of 20 years from now, who's really not you? He's someone
But do they
else.
have the power to say whether or not, like,
They don't. That's true too.
That's kind of like
The unborn you in the future.
No,
A
but
tattoo as an investment?
no, not like an investment.
You're like, you're gonna thank me later, Becky. What?
You put your hand down and
Mr.
your
Morris,
pen.
what?
Yeah.
Huh?
No, you just have like
Basically
different
preparing
thoughts.
for the future.
You're more mature, but it's still you.
There's so much I want to
No,
say.
but then that's kind of like, if you think about it that way, where the other person, the older version of yourself doesn't have the will to say it. That's like a mother drinking while she's pregnant.
You're saying that she's allowed to do that?
No, that's like the same thing.
Oh,
kind of.
like because you're hurting a
Because
child.
it doesn't have the will to say no.
But when like you're
I
drinking
understand.
when you're pregnant, of course
Oh,
there's
I
gonna
see
be
what you're saying.
consequences when you have a tattoo.
The baby
not
is like
whether
the
you're
future
sure.
you.
It's
Yeah.
residue.
Well, and all I'm saying to it, because we could definitely talk about individual things, is that idea of who am I 20 years from now? Am I
I think you're
going
the
to
same
be?
person, you just have more experiences, but you're still
Yeah,
the
but
same.
that changes like you.
It changes like.
It changes your opinions,
it
maybe,
And then
but
there's
it's
that thing
still
where you
you.
shouldn't
I'll
It's
throw
still
out
you,
one
you're
more
not-
thing, and then it'll let you kind of mind blow a little bit. Every 7 years, what happens to your body?
Oh, all your cells change out. So
Like
technically,
your
physically,
taste
you're a
buds
different
change.
person completely.
But as long as you retain the same like,
Same
None of
one.
the-
your same memories, your same, if you,
What are
if
memories?
it,
Oh my God.
they're much what you perceive as your memories, because you trust your memories because they're yours.
Wait,
Deuces?
Are they though?
Are you, Mandy? Are you defending the soul or the mind or immaterial object?
You have to trust something. If you're gonna trust something, it might as well be your own memories and your own thoughts.
No, but I'm asking you what those are.
What if
So that's all I'm
memories are-
suggesting.
Memories
They could be.
They're little juices in your brain, right? That'll eventually be
Not like
neuron synapses.
That would be me defending the not the existence of the soul, because it's just the chemicals in our brain. It's just the.
Yeah.
It's just the.
Yeah, we are.
Well, I mean, I think that memory is the same thing as that. Like,
No, yeah, true.
Wait, okay, what if you change, like all your cells change in your body, but you still remember what you ate like breakfast yesterday,
It's
so
wherever
that's like
Anyways,
No.
I knew that would open up a can of worms. I didn't mean for it to.
It doesn't mean anything.
That's
It doesn't mean anything.
What does?
It's changing every 7 years.
I was just suggesting that you are from a biological perspective, a different person, a different
Really?
human. You have different cells, new cells, completely new cells,
What about your brain cells?
even brain cells.
So it's like metaphor.
Wait,
No, it's how our body continues.
But is it like generations?
You can also think. I'm gonna keep blowing your mind on it. You can also think about humans as not a singular consciousness, but a biomass of hive mind, because we are basically a parasitic community of bacteria. There's more bacterial cells in your body than there are human cells and DNA. Just to let you know. You have more DNA of bacteria on you than you do.
But they don't think for you, do they?
But they do all of the important processes of your body that you're saying. I know, stop it!
I'm auditing.
No, I'm not saying these things to destroy your sense of self or destroy your sense of moral duty. I'm just suggesting one such paradigm about it. So I'm glad it's causing discussion, but we do need to move on. We got next team. Thank you so much, Durkheim Weber groups. Let's go ahead and team 2 here. We gotta go quickly because we're gonna run out of time today, which is fine. But just want to make sure that we know where we stand.
there is.
Do you guys not have anything to
I
say?
have something kind of.
Go for it. Talk to us.
It was interpretation versus what was the other word?
Value, a naturalist. Interpretivist versus naturalist,
That wasn't what I was going to say.
or positivist, or value-free.
It was interpretation versus description. That's what it was.
Okay, thank you.
Showing, the way you interpret something when you describe it, it's going to have your bias, whether or not you realize it.
Correct.
And then there's also subjective knowledge versus objective knowledge.
Okay, we've talked about that before, haven't we?
Yes,
Yeah,
but it was
it sort of
mentioned.
aligns with the whole description and interpretation thing, because more of a description of something is more of like solid, facts of how it is, your own personal way doesn't really play into that as much as interpretation is how you really feel about it. That's more of a subjective sort of thing.
Read this.
Spherical shape, flat round and firm, yet yielding. The compressor? Numerous attempts. Numerous attempts were made He's repeatedly.
However, that's how we're all reading at different paces. I don't know if it's a rap, actually. I don't know why I said it.
Go talk. Let me talk.
I thought it was gonna rhyme. But then just yielding.
I like this because it clearly demonstrates the difference between qualitative, quantitative, but also kind of what you had suggested with description versus some sort of bias or some sort of preconceived social construct. So for the second one there, we clearly understand what's happening here. He's trying to grab someone's butt and can't do it.
Hostile is qualitative though.
That is qualitative. The whole thing no, you're right. Wait. Qualitative.
Hostile in the quantitative is qualitative.
Oh, I see.
I can participate. Does it says no here?
Wait, shouldn't those be switched?
On the walls.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right.
Talking about pleasure.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Explain for us.
Yielding to pressure. Okay.
Shape.
So one's doing the description, the other one's yielding to a bit of I don't know, understanding the firm. Okay. the problem behind it. Okay, so that's one such description of this section. If you haven't taken some sort of note already on naturalist versus interpretivist, the other way of saying interpretivist is anti-positivist, which is I think the word that you kind of used a little bit. It goes into Weber's situation. It's all the same ways of saying mostly quantitative versus qualitative. It's a type of method, but the actual systems are actual like worldviews. So one of them, the naturalist believes that you can look at humans as you would any other animal. So it's you describing it as if they're a different animal than you. So the deer drinking water, I can do that. Now that might be good if I need to go to another country perhaps and study as an anthropologist, study a group of people I've never studied before, don't even know their language. I have to talk with them as if they're completely different than me. But at the same time, there's the anti-positivist. Positivism is the sense that you can create some sort of scientific, objective approach to behavior, human behavior. Whereas an anti-positivist or someone like Weber would want to describe things that are a bit more complex. It's that qualitative results when you're talking with people and trying to interact with them. Figure out what your biases are, know your biases, etc. So those who are in the camp of the naturalist believes that you can in fact strip away all your biases and come at it from a cold, systematic perspective on things. That's kind of what we're, in general, this idea of nature versus nurture kind of goes in that direction. As a Durkheim type sort of general overview of society, you might look at some nurture stuff, but for the most part you might, well, that might be the whole thing, is that you can actually, if there is nurture involved with the way you do things, which we would all assume that there's at least a part of it as a result of, but we can actually mold you completely. If I had Kyle as a little baby Kyle. I could turn Kyle into whatever I wanted. Is that true? If I had Kyle as a baby, could I turn him into whatever I wanted?
Potentially, you kept him home.
What do you want to turn him into? A version
Now
of
the
you?
question with that is, what is missing? What is missing out of our general understanding and the way we operate in the world when I say something like I can mold baby Kyle into whatever I want?
What do you mean by what do you want though?
Stay
Like a
within,
version of a human,
stay
like a
within like the
murderer?
possibilities. Like,
Maybe
do
with
you want to change him into a cat?
I want to turn, no, yeah, I don't want to turn him into a cat, I understand that. But anything a human can be.
Like
So
a murderer?
I want to turn
Yeah.
Kyle into a serial killer. Can I do it?
Yeah.
Probably.
Well,
If you raise
Yeah,
like some morals.
You've watched these movies like Megamind where they teach the baby that evil is actually what's good, so their perception is thrown off. Their perception is thrown off that like what's evil, that's actually good to them.
Right.
They're like, I think I'm doing the
So
good thing.
what's lost in that equation? What are some things that might be lost in that equation? From that we normally do every day. What did you do? Let me tell you, let's ask it this way since you're not gonna figure it out.
Okay.
Who forced you to come to class today?
Oh, you're gonna say
Will
like
be
the
No, I don't know.
to get the A.
Did you?
To get a ride home.
Okay, so there's where I'm trying to go with this. I'm coming to class because I am a responsible person and I chose to be here, right? I chose to be in the IB program. I chose to be, even if you stay stuck here against your will. One way or the other. So choice gets lost is what I'm suggesting.
Motivation,
You have to take your parents' feelings that motivate you to become the person that you are, so then you be a responsible person.
Made the wrong choice,
That's true.
You make fun of them now with the other, you know?
Did you guys have any thoughts besides what I just said about, that was a B.F. Skinner suggesting behavioralism, the idea of behavioralism, consequence, but which we'll talk about today. Anyone else have any thoughts on nurture versus nature from your argued out that you want to throw out?
They both go hand in hand.
Babies. What about babies? What are babies?
You can change the way a baby can grow up.
Okay.
Like nurturing a certain way.
So that's what we just described. Yeah, just what we described. You can change a baby. Can you change a baby completely?
No.
Okay, so there's
That's
some.
physical traits.
You can't change what? Okay, you can't change his physical traits.
You have to, like,
Can you change his physical
you
traits? I
have to,
don't know.
like,
Yeah, you
change
can.
your
Surgery.
Surgery. diet?
Not natural.
Yeah, okay, guys. Yeah.
Not
Natural.
Not natural.
Even if you're trying to influence someone to be a certain way, they're still maybe they need to maintain that house, or there may be some resistance therefore causing them to become a certain way because you treat them like that, but it won't be the outcome you expect. So I mean, it's all like influence.
What?
So influence, so we're using some language here, different language. Instead of saying you can control or change, maybe we could say things like influence, right? Some sort of modification
Well, it depends
of
on
environment.
the personal, like, do you think that some people are stronger than others and able to handle some things more than the other person? Like if someone witnessed like a parent being killed, would they have the ability to
Overcome that.
overcome it? Or if they're like, they have a really weak, like, I don't know, they
Something
can't
like
bounce
that.
back easily?
So that's essential. That's actually the central question of psychology and psychotherapy. Do we have something innate in us that can overcome, or is everything that we have like operant conditioning? It's a specific term of art that we will study today.
Can we mold their
That we'll study today. That will describe whether or not, depending on your worldview, whether how you're looking at it, we look at humans and say, yes, we can change you because all you are is all your personality or your fortitude, all those virtues that we think are innate in us, all those really are your constant stimuli to consequence. And just like if I were to take a pin right now, and this would be completely awful, and prick Kat, what would she do? Right? Now, the question is, did Kat do it because of some sort of innate sort of like knowing that things are gonna poke her and it hurts her, so she does that?
Well, it's a reaction.
It's a reaction to it. So is everything about us, including how our brains, you said, overcome certain terrible traumas, is that only a result of changing the conditioning? Meaning the outside forces, the consequences involved. If I were to have a phobia of spiders, what might be one way that I could overcome my phobia of spiders?
If something dear was on the line.
Slowly start, like, look at a spider from another room, and then sit in the room with the spider, and then have someone help me hold the spider
That's one way to do
at
it.
some point.
Then there's another way you could do it.
Watch Bugs Life, like
By what?
Holding the
By throwing them in a pit of spiders, you go, ah, right? Or like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Right? No, that would probably make it worse.
Killing all the spiders.
Killing all the spiders in a room. So here we've kind of hit on all the central themes for today, which is great. Yes?
What about adaptation?
What do you mean adaptation?
Like, okay, so you can try to change a person, but everybody will adapt to it differently because of what's in your genes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because everybody has been like thrown down by what their parents have dealt
Right.
with. So like you have like your hereditary resistance
That's a good way to describe it.
to like things. So you can have two kids and try to mold them into serial killers, and they'll be two different
Types of serial killers.
Yeah.
Or one won't be as much of a serial, or maybe it won't be at all. Maybe he'll be like, "Ew, this is disgusting."
because they came from two different backgrounds, and
Fair-
that'll
fair
still
enough.
influence them.
And even in twins, which by the way was your NPR interview thing that I'm sure you all listened to. Epigenetics, and are you twin? I didn't know that. Fraternal twins. So it's not, that wouldn't really apply to you because you're not identical. But you're a great example of your best friend. That's right. And they're identical. So they would be a good experiment in epigenetics. That you can figure out. Well, no, it's a good. That'll actually be. It'll come up today too. So don't just hold that thought about Erica and Arisha, which by the way I can never guess which one's which. I always look at her and go. First I say her name is Arisha, and she's like, it's Arisha or Arisha or whatever. So I'm like, first of all, why did your parents name you Erica and Arisha? You are twins, and you don't even have. Might as well just be like Erica 1 and Erica 2, or good Erica and just Erica.
It's like never mind, it's not quite the same as Gabby.
But you wouldn't be able to, the name does it, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference anyway. If one was like Angela and one was Penelope,
That's a good
still.
That's a good question. That might be a good experiment.
I couldn't tell them apart.
I know, like I've never
until like end of family. Then I was getting their faces. I was getting their faces a little bit. I don't like pictures of
All right.
them.
So I'm going to go ahead and cut us off now because we are now roughly 15 minutes in, and I do want to try and get to at least a few of my ideas. It's okay because Wednesday we can finish up, and it gives me less work to do. I don't have to prepare as much for next day. No, but there's a lot of things. It all centers around the idea of nature-nurture. It also centers around the idea of operant conditioning as well as environment. So these are the things that the human scientist has to focus on, the paradigms that is, humans live and exist in society. So it's more of like the psychology connected to sociology a little bit. So have your notes out. Remember the 3 ideas from last week. We're continuing on to these. We're talking about the definitions of science and then these paradigms such as behavioralism and Gestalt theory, naturalism and interpretivism, which is what we just touched on. And then also we've been hitting very, very dramatically quantitative and qualitative because that has so much crossover with other areas such as the natural sciences. We're also talking about ethics. We've already touched on several of those, including your own sort of identity, proximity. 10 years from now, do you have some sort of ethical responsibility to yourself? We talk about suicide, how we would approach suicide. So all these things have a lot of TOK significance. The pursuit of truth and or fact. What are we trying to find about people and who they are and why they do things and what we define ourselves by. So Andy bringing up an interesting sort of the idea of who we are, and innately can we quote unquote overcome the things around us that try and mold us in certain directions. Is there something innate, or is it all just operant conditioning? We're going to learn what those words are today. We're doing nature, nurture, ethics, the idea of can we arrive at any conclusions. This will be all throughout the week, so we won't get nearly as much to this. And then we're going to have some activities. If we can, I'd like to do let's do the last 10 minutes of class. So in 6 minutes, let me know and I'll just right over to the taste test. So I want to do some taste tests with you guys for 10 minutes and talk about what that entails in a moment. I also want to look at regarding ethics crossover and the idea of external operant conditioning. There was a very controversial study that was produced. Anyone familiar with the Milgram experiment? Yes, I'm the first. I feel so great. I feel like I'm the first one to just blow your minds on these.
Oh,
awesome.
the Milgram experiment?
Oh, of course. Now this is it. And then you'll also, this week, I'm going to have you guys, you're not going to have any reading or any listening to stuff. Instead, you're going to go out and you're going to do some research for me. So you're going to produce a psychological experiment and come back next Monday. You get to do stuff to people.
Yes.
Either stuff that you've learned or maybe something you find online, a good experiment, see if you can trick people, tell me what kind of research, etc. So I'll talk about that at the end of the period. I already showed you qualitative, quantitative graph, and the silliness that comes with that. Real quick, if you haven't yet wrapped your brain around these 2 concepts, please write down and do so now. Naturalism versus interpretivism. Another way to describe this is positivist versus anti-positivist. Positivism means it's like the word positive. It means that you can, in fact, find out facts about human behavior. So it means positivists you're going to be your solid scientists. When we use the word human science, what we are really emphasizing is the science part. It means I can arrive at solid conclusions and theories based on the world. I can, in fact, remove all my biases, and it's just sort of this machine that can produce. If you're acting a certain way, I can find through a series of questions and quantitative research, I can figure out exactly why you're doing what you're doing. And this,
Through quantitative?
Yeah. Through understanding of society. I'm saying that right, correct?
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of skip around correctly on that, but I'll have to double check that. Yes.
Like an example of a successful
Yeah, so for instance with objective, it would be like someone like Durkheim who would say that, and B.F. Skinner, for instance, where they've learned so much about human behavior based on natural observation, like you would an iguana, or a rat, or a mouse, or something like that. And you would, as a result of that, understand why someone, let's say Kyle was afraid of something, I might be able to, through either an understanding, I might do it qualitatively too, so I might go and ask him things about his childhood and his fears and that sort of thing, but I might at some point arrive at, this is the reason why you're doing something, objectively. So you're afraid of It's like Indiana Jones in that very third one here. I love Indiana Jones. Anyone else like that?
Which was the third one?
The third one is The Last Crusade, where it shows him how he loses his fear of snakes. So he falls, how he gets his fear of snakes, I should say. He falls into this big pit of snakes on the train car. You don't remember that? Okay, never mind. So I'll move on. There's a moment in time. This moment is the reason why he says snakes. I hate snakes. Right now? Okay.
Wait, is that the one with?
That's the one with Sean Connery. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. That didn't make any sense to you. So anything that you can do to figure that out. Anyways, it means that there's moments in your life where there's specific changes that you can figure out based on your observation of your life. Now, to a naturalist, you can observe humans as any other animal subject, but an interpretivist says, no. You are also an animal, and you are also a human. And so as a result of that, you can't just pretend like you don't have biases. Okay, a great example is an interpretivist would then look at somebody like Freud, who thought of himself as a positivist. He said, I look at the natural world, I'm a scientist, and then we quickly start realizing and eventually discredit most of his theories. There was a story of Freud, who thought that he had in fact created a system in which perfectly explained human behavior, and that was the subconscious. He had these three levels, this id, ego, and superego. And these are things that you can identify clearly in people's behaviors. You're obviously acting out of the id, which is like your sort of reptilian brain that wants to just do things for itself, like eat and have sex and whatever, right? Which is one of the parts. Then there'd be the ego, which is things that you're starting to learn. It's like whenever you do things for others, but it's still not a reciprocal thing. And then finally your superego, which would be more like a teacher, like what I do. I'm acting out of my Platonic ideal of being a teacher to a student, where I'm doing things just for the sake of yourself, for you. So this is a framework, but he's pretending, or at least he believed it very strongly, that this paradigm was in fact the way things were. It's what he observed. And so he'd do things like, again, the story of Freud was a woman had come in, she had terrible anxiety, there was a lot of problems, and he had determined through this system that he was looking at, believing it was objective fact, saying that he had diagnosed her with excessive masturbation, and so therefore that was her problem of anxiety, so gave her all sorts of reasons or tried to offer and condition her out of that, and even believed from a naturalist perspective that he could. They believed at the time that a lot of your pheromones and that sort of things that make you attracted, I should say, or whatever, turned on, was in your nose. And so they actually did this like nose surgery on her, and like she ended up dying of like bad gangrene because they left cotton balls. Terrible event. And Freud's yay Freud. So you might hear of Freud, but in the psychological community today, in psychology, he's mostly discredited. So you only learn about him as the history of psychology and all the bumps and things along the way. Yes? 350, perfect, thank you. Okay, so I went really slow for that. We've already approached suicide, we've beaten that to death. Okay. Bad joke. It was a bad joke. Okay, we're gonna not do this. This is kind of a weighty subject for today. Let's not do this right now. You want to talk about child soldiers? I don't. Okay. So I'm going to skip that for a second, and I'm also gonna skip. I'm gonna go straight to Pavlov's. No. I'm gonna do the taste test. We're gonna talk about Pavlov on Wednesday, so we'll kind of debrief after this taste test with some Pavlov and talk about what it means by operant conditioning. So, you've heard of Pavlov before? Have you watched The Office? No.
Yeah.
Okay. There's an episode where they talk about Pavlov, which we're gonna look at. So, I don't know if this will work. I kind of conceived of this experiment as a model for you guys if you think of something. So I don't know if it'll work or be interesting or have any interesting results, but it gets us to eat jelly beans for 10 minutes, okay? So let's get what I'd like you to do first, you can see these are what jelly beans look like. These are the specimens, jelly beans. And what I need you to do is get into teams of 2. So do that in 10 seconds. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now in the next 5 seconds, what I'd like you to do is figure out who's going to eat the jelly beans first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have who's eating the jelly beans first. Okay, great. Back on me. Okay.
That's why I said
I'm trying to modify your behavior. Okay. We have all these different types of jelly beans. Real quick, where is my? Oh. We have. You gotta listen, because this is gonna be very important for both of you right now, both the eater and the examiner. Okay, so you're gonna have a taster. Let's call him the taster and the teacher. Taster and teacher. Okay. All right. We have this dark red one. This dark red one. Oh, we say it's red. Wait. We say that's red, and that's going to be cherry. So you gotta know both those. Red, cherry. Got it? Red, cherry. We have orange, and that is going to be orange. Okay. It's the same thing. We knew. The green one is green apple. You know this. Okay.
Are you
Great.
looking at the jelly bean flavor list?
Yes, I am. And then we have grape, purple. Purple. Okay. Lastly, we have yellow.
That was pink.
Oh, we have two more. Lemon,
Yeah, purple flavor.
yellow lemon, and we have light red, which is strawberry. Strawberry. Okay.
There's a cream.
Okay. You guys know the commercial? No. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay. This is not the order that you're going to use them in, but these are the different flavors. So each team is going to have a set of those flavors. One person is the taster is going to go outside in a moment. But when you come back inside, your tasters, or your teachers, I should say, are going to give you a flavor and you're going to eat it. And they're going to tell you what the flavor is. And you have to agree or disagree. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's all you need to do. So please, the tasters, step outside for a few seconds so I can continue
I like
bringing the experiment to the teachers. Quickly. We're going to be this. We'll only do we'll maybe just do one round today because I don't know if we'll have time for 2 rounds. I'd like to try it. Come on. Okay. All you guys need Post-its so you know what you're doing with each one of these. Boom. So you guys are the teachers. Teacher, get out a pen. Teacher. Can I have someone pass out the rest of those Post-its while I do the jelly beans and go faster?
Tight jump.
Boom.
I'm not an IB student.
Do you have a partner though?
What?
Do you have a partner though?
Yes, Jocelyn's my partner.
Okay, then that works.
Yay! Thanks.
Okay, so real quick, what I didn't tell them.
Starburst jelly.
What I didn't tell them is that the order that they would go in, and so there's going to actually be only 2 that are in the correct position. The rest of the other 3 are not going to be. So you're going to say, the first step is just to say a color.
Are you doing it?
Yeah. And you're gonna give it to them to
now
eat.
you are?
But only 2 of them are going to be in the correct position. So you're actually going to say the incorrect color for each of the 3 out of the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, out of 6.
Do you want to say union also?
So half of
No.
them?
Huh?
Half of them are going to
Yeah, so only 2 out of the 6 are going to be in the correct position. Now what's going to happen is you're all going to have to say it at the same time so that you're creating a consensus. So the whole point is that you guys are going to be looking at consensus amongst your sets. So there's going to be a bit of an authority bias. The second step is that they're going to be trying to do agree or disagree depending on what their taste involves because their eyes are going to be closed, they can't see the colors. And they're going to get also a consensus bias depending on what if they hear other people saying agree
Are
or
we saying
disagree.
it out loud then, or are we just like
You're all
quietly,
gonna
like,
say it out loud, loudly. Say red.
Wait,
That's
but
what I
couldn't they be thinking that we're different? We're doing it in a different.
They're trying to taste they're trying to taste
Tell
it.
them it's a different color.
What if they
You're all
think
gonna
that
be
we're all doing
you're all gonna be doing no, you're all gonna all do different ones. You're all gonna do the same order.
Alright, let's get
Okay, let's get started because we're not gonna get them.
I totally thought those were
Here's the order that you need to. Here is here's the correct order. So you need to write down like a combo of letters and get a spaces so you can put the jelly beans in that order. Okay. The correct order, the ones that you're gonna actually say red, pink, that sort of thing. But you're then gonna mix up except for 2 spaces. That make sense?
Yeah.
So you're all gonna have different jelly beans that they're gonna eat, and none of them are gonna be right except 2 of them. That makes sense?
Okay. So
But they're not
combination.
Yeah.
So do you want us to like get the correct order here?
This is the combination. Just do what I said right now. Red, so R, pink, P-I, O, orange, yellow, green, and purple, P-U. Okay. The only two jelly beans that will be in the correct position are yellow and purple. Got it?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if I can pass these out very quick.
Those look like jelly bellies.
Like these are the way that
That's
was.
ice cones, right?
They want to help me out with this.
Why don't we just all go in bad bags?
So don't we only need yellow and purple?
No, you're gonna need. You need all different ones. Just also need.
Integrate.
Here, everyone, teachers, come up here and try and get all your colors. So I don't know if I'm gonna have time to give them all out. I don't
Why
think
do
you
they
can
have
get all.
speckles on them?
They're kind of melted together. Hopefully that doesn't ruin our.
Yeah, they're probably gonna ruin it.
Try and get your stuff if you can. I already have somebody's. I have one over here. This works. And then I also have this one here. Here's two teachers right here.
Can I eat one?
Two teachers.
No, you explode.
If they'd like to have their own here.
Really?
You
I
wanna go
already
have
picked
it?
most of
All right,
them.
sit down. Put them in any order you want, except for those two spaces. Hopefully they can't hear me over there.
I'm missing one.
Where did dark red?
Kyle, did you need yours?
Experience.
You're not doing this?
This is cute.
Oh, Caleb, that's sorry, Caleb.
Wait,
doing
I
this?
need a green that's like untouched.
You know the two colors that need to be in
The
there?
dark red is the
Green,
cherry.
purple, yellow.
Dark red is the cherry one. Stop eating them. It's not your time right now.
So like
It was
even
colored
this is
covered
the
in red, so I ate
One that
it.
was the same.
Mr. Morris.
What's up?
This is an order we say, even if it's like an orange, we give them to say red.
You say red. Okay, does that make
So don't we
sense?
all say,
Yes.
are we all doing the same one?
You don't need to do all the same one, except for those two spaces.
Except for
Dang
yellow.
it, I need another yellow. It dropped on the
Okay,
floor.
You lied to them for
It's not- it's
flavor.
contaminated.
Okay, now you need to hide your area or hide your combinations.
Oh, I'm supposed to write down the
Put something on top of them. Yeah, you need to write down the combo that I put in. Come on, what are you doing here?
Wait, I'm doing my own combo.
Yeah, I gave you the combo: red, pink,
No,
orange.
and I write down my own combo,
Red,
right?
pink, orange.
You don't need to write down. No, you need
You
to
write down
say.
that combo, but you put them in a
Yeah,
different
we do
combination
that.
except
Yeah.
for yellow and purple.
So just mix them up.
She's like,
So put, the only ones that need to be in the right place are these two. The rest need to be different ones.
So I write my own.
These are only the
here.
correct ones, and you're only saying this even though you're gonna pick up, so let's say you put an orange on the red spot, you're gonna say this is red,
like it.
okay?
And then you're gonna. And then if they
So I don't
agree.
need to write down my own combination. That's
No,
what I
no.
know.
Last thing, you need to write down. You need to put a check mark by the combo if they agree or disagree, and they get it right. So if they disagree basically with all the areas, they get it right. If they agree with what you said, and you put an X, except for those two areas. Does that make sense? Kind of get it? I know it's kind of a weird thing. I hope I'm gonna have any interesting results. If not, then we get to each other. Yay!
Are they coming in here?
Yes, they are. You ready?
Oh, I thought
Can
we
you
were-
guys cover up your combo, please?
Yep.
All right, come on back in. You can hear me talking to
No.
you. No, yes.
Just when we had I heard it. I just
I had to inform the teachers of what they are experimenting for.
Well,
Okay, so please, once you sit down, try not to look and bias yourselves towards the situation here. You need to get into a place in which the teacher can feed you. They don't have to like. It's not has to be all. Have your hand up, but the point is that you have your eyes closed. That's the whole point. Something turn off the lights in order to enhance the effect, so that your senses are dull. It would be even better if we took out our. We had some sort of ears plugged, but just eyes closed. I don't mind it if you. I'm not going to get blindfold you because I trust all of you. So at this point, teachers, we are going to give the first color, and I will let you know. Again, we're going by colors for this first round. So colors.
So is there dark red and light red? Are they different?
Dark red is cherry, light red.
Yeah, I mentioned the colors, so let me just describe the colors here. We have pink,
Brown. Oh, it's pink.
and we have red. Okay.
Right.
Do we plug our ears?
Now,
You can.
those are the two colors. That's all I'm going to say now. Okay, let's finish this so we can get done. We're going to be out of here soon. All right, so teachers, 1, 2, 3. Say your first first color.
Red.
And tasters, taste
This
it.
one's red.
Tell me if you agree or disagree with the flavor or the color that was said. Red.
It's red.
Oh, sorry.
Keep your eyes closed the whole experiment.
Sugar.
Say agree or disagree with red.
Do you agree or disagree with my
Red.
stereo?
No, disagree.
Agree.
Say agree or disagree. Don't tell me what it is. Just agree or disagree.
Disagree.
It's not a guessing game.
Is it red? Do you agree?
Okay, second. So swallow. Tasters, come on.
Swallow.
I'm
Swallow.
trying to
Swallow.
savor those.
That's a bit stuck. It's like stuck in my tooth.
Next color, teachers. 1, 2, 3.
Pink.
Good. No more talking.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Really?
Don't. It's not a correcting game. It's just to get the research right now.
Think about what you just said.
Okay, taster, swallow.
Swallow? Swallow.
After you've said agree or disagree.
That's really anything. I like it.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Next, color. 1, 2, 3.
Orange.
You didn't say the color. Why are you throwing it? Why did you drop it?
Orange. Agree or disagree? Orange.
Alright, so
Agree or disagree?
He's having second thoughts.
Do not bias anything, guys. All right, next color. 1, 2, 3.
Yellow.
White. White, green. Yellow.
If I get these all wrong, we just said this. I don't know. I will never test my teeth.
Swallow.
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 Oh, swallows. Huh?
That's swallows. Lovely. I like that. Okay, color. Next color. Teachers. 1, 2, 3.
Green.
Green.
Color.
Get some green.
Yellow?
What flavor is green? You make good job.
Benjamin, I'll be ruining it.
Green is green and green. Green apple. Yeah, sure. It's green. Green. Why not?
These results are upsetting.
Next one. You guys ready to taste? Taster, swallow.
No one told me colors.
I guess they're making-
Man, what color is it? Oh, I didn't do that.
The swallow may fly south.
He can grip it by the husk. Okay. Next color. Teachers. 1, 2, 3. Purple. Purple. You guys got this.
I said it too. That's fine.
Oh, really? I didn't know about, yeah. Wait, the one you got right?
You agree?
The only one I got wrong was the
Question
green
when the
one.
big groups it. Question, wait.
What one is that?
Five
Is that
ounce
pink?
part cannot carry up.
Damn it.
One
I was gonna say
pound.
that, but I was
One
gonna
ounce.
grab it.
1 pound.
1 pound.
These bugs.
All right.
Yeah.
That bug.
You like?
Let's open our eyes now. You've eaten some jelly beans. We're about 5 minutes over. Did we all get 100%? I'm not even sure this is like. No. Okay, good. So we have some participants here.
What's this?
Cat's got.
I like the strawberry.
Don't waste them all. We gotta do this round 2 tomorrow.
It's not fun that you're so big.
Wednesday. Huh? Yeah, show them what they got wrong right now. See how they worked out. I want to hear your.
I got the first one wrong. I was gonna say it might be
Not
pink,
100% right.
which it was,
Who
not red.
got
But
some wrong? I want to hear which
he
one.
said don't. It's not a guessing game. You just say agree or disagree. The first one going into it, I don't eat jelly beans often. I was like, whatever, agree, sure.
No, no.
Got it wrong. But 4 for 5. I can dig.
That was orange.
Oh, and it was a green one. What were you
It was a
wondering?
green.
Okay, and did you guys also have green on orange?
And have any.
Interesting. So on the green on orange, you guys had a green on orange?
I did.
You did have a green on orange. You had a green on orange? So 2 people couldn't taste the difference between green apple and orange, but you guys were able to distinguish between the 2.
I know my green.
We should use.
Ah, that might be what it is. Okay. Good. Anything else, Caleb and Kyle?
Kyle got
And
like
the green
one
one.
wrong.
Yeah, right.
I got the first one.
Which
wrong.
was?
It was pink, not red. I don't know
Don't
that.
worry. I gotta have enough for tomorrow because we have round 2 because the teachers haven't been able to.
Round 2.
Well,
They were eating a little.
no. So teachers, you're gonna have round 2 in which you're gonna be the other side now. We'll do a different type of experiment and then we'll debrief on this experiment on Wednesday. Okay.
Dang it, now I have to show up?
Right? If you want to have more jelly beans. Okay. And we will talk about all sorts of interesting things with foods and human sciences. You probably already know, we've talked a little bit about foods before. And TOK, particularly the evil Monsanto, but Monsanto.
We should have done this at the beginning. Bye, Morris.
I know, right? That's right. See you guys. Instead of doing, huh? That's right, right? That's good. It was a good thing to end on.
What?
It's okay. We can always do round 2, and it'll be fine to break it up so that we're not just having all too much fun each period. Got to spread out the fun. You sound like you're a bag of fun right now. You got a lot going on. Oh, you got a lot going on.
It was me.
Did somebody make it for you?
You said it, Lance.
Best dancer?
No. You gotta just enjoy your freedom now, right?
It was I'm happy I did it. It was the right time.
And how?
Dude, yeah, right?
Yeah.
I have to go by the base.
So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I guess I'm here on Wednesday because
You might as well. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bring your notes.
Okay.
Be good students once again. I believe in you. This is operant conditioning. I tell you things, positive reinforcement, and you rise to the occasion. This concludes our broadcast day. Click.